Welcome back to another episode of the Bad Influence Podcast. I'm Jordan Banderas, and before we get started, don't forget to hit the subscribe or follow button so you don't miss out on any of my episodes. So, today, I want to dive into a topic that's been at the forefront of parents' concerns. And this has been going on for a really long time. And even though I don't have kids, I want to share my opinion about this since there's a lot of fighting and bickering about this particular subject that I'm going to talk about. But before we start, I want to ask you a question. And that question is, who is responsible for educating kids about the dangers of the internet? So what I'll do today is that I'm going to explore the impact of parental supervision since I grew up without it. So I have a little bit of experience when it comes to not being supervised by a parent, especially because my mom was a single mom. But I see this happening a lot more with two parents households as well. And also I want to talk about the importance of proactive parental involvement rather than relying on the government or others to address this particular issue. Because that's what a lot of parents are doing right now. They're kind of relying on others to prevent their kids from doing things on the internet, or sometimes some parents actually want the government to step in and do, I don't know what they want them to do, but do something about it. And listen, I'm not chastising parents. I'm not gonna chastise anybody. This is not to bring shame or anything like that. I'm not telling you how to parent. To each their own. You know your parental style or your parenting style. So if it works for you, stick with it. If it's not working for you, then you might need to change something about it. That's the only thing I want to address with that right now. So here's what I've been seeing that's been happening a lot, or for a while as well. A lot of parents don't really understand what can be accessed online. They think that the internet is almost like a safe space because they don't understand the kind of websites that you can get into that are supposed to be for kids but don't have any restrictions to get into. And right now, here's the problem with that. Kids are actually starting their journey of self-discovery at a very young age because of the internet. They hear things on TV from friends or from adult conversations that they don't understand. And because they don't want to feel ashamed by asking certain questions, they don't ask their parents. They don't want to feel judged. So what they do in this type of situations is that they go to the internet to find out what exactly they're hearing or what exactly they're listening to. That's exactly what they're doing. So imagine, okay, a child growing up without parental guidance when it comes to the internet. Because the parents think that their kids won't talk to anybody online. They think that their kids won't go to porn websites, even though they may be a teen and they have raging hormones. Some parents are like, oh, my kid will never do that. And they also don't think that they're going to go to websites that are meant for adults only. Not even porn websites. Sometimes they can have like gory images, very violent content, things like that. And I also want to address this because a lot of parents don't think that their kids are going to try a TikTok challenge that might end up killing them. And oh yes, that has happened a lot. You probably have seen it on the internet, yeah, and on the news. And you may think, oh, my kid knows better than that. Well, when a kid wants to be accepted, they're going to try it. Believe me, they're going to try it. And when something terrible happens to their kids, parents honestly don't understand how that could have happened. Well, I'm here to tell you, not as somebody that is judging you, like I said. I'm here to tell you as a friend, as somebody that has seen some pretty messed up shit on the internet, and somebody that grew up without parental supervision when it comes to the internet. I'm here to tell you what your kid can access online so you understand that you have to have conversations with your kids about the dangers of the internet. Even if you think that that type of conversation will be for an adult, believe me, your kids know more about the internet than you do. Probably they have seen things that they don't even want to talk about. Probably they already are seeing like so many naked women right now, and you don't even know about it. That's the problem with the internet. Because if you don't know how to search their history, their web browsing history, they're going to hide it. There are apps that are supposed to be only for pictures, and they show a lot of naked women. And they show so many things. I have seen so many things on Instagram nowadays where people get shot and they don't cover the blood. People get an accident and they don't cover anything. They show a lot of naked bodies now on Instagram. And you may think that your kid having access to that is okay. And it is, but you also have to tell them what they can see, and you have to explain them if it's bad or not. But that's up to you. That is up to you. The reason why I want to talk about this is because the other day I was talking to my wife about the dangers of the internet in regards to kids, because we saw a news article about a teenage girl who left her home with someone she met on the internet, and now they can't find her. They literally don't know what happened to her. She literally disappeared. All they know is that she talked to somebody on a chat, she was picked up from school, and that's it. Other than that, they know nothing about that. And here's the thing that struck me the most as interesting, because the parents were interviewed and literally said, I don't know how this could have happened, which is understandable. I mean, you think that your kids are safe or whatever because you're trying to provide for them, you give them a house, whatever. The parents also said that they have heard this type of things happening to someone else, and that they never thought it will happen to them because they thought their kid will know better. And obviously, the kid unfortunately didn't know better. But let's just guess that she didn't have the guidance when it comes to the internet. Somebody was trying to talk to her, acted like a friend, and now unfortunately this happened. And one of the things that I want to point out in regards to this particular interview is that the parents also stated that the government needs to do something about this. And I have heard a lot of similar statements in the last year. Anytime something happens to a kid because of the internet, either due to a TikTok challenge where the kids end up hurting themselves or unfortunately dying, or when they disappear because they met someone online. Now, when I heard this, I asked my wife out of curiosity, because I am extremely curious when it comes to things like this. What can the government do to prevent things like that? And I want to hear your answer on the comments, because I honestly don't know what they can do except monitor the internet and everything you do, and block a lot of websites to make sure kids are not seeing things or talking to people they are not supposed to, like pedophiles or somebody that is trying to, sex traffic them or whatever. Like, there's a lot of bad people on the internet, and kids don't know anything about them. But that's only if you don't tell them. Because if you talk to them and you tell them, maybe they're going to be able to talk to you about that. But here's the thing about what I just mentioned. A lot of people will not agree to anything the government would do, because like I said, that will be government overreach. They will have to literally track everything that's done online to make sure kids are safe. If you're okay with that as a parent, good for you at least. But I believe that's your responsibility as well. Don't let the government take control of something that you're supposed to do. That's my opinion. And again, I'm not judging you. I'm not chastising you. I'm just talking from experience because of how I grew up. If my mom or my uncle, who was supposed to be my almost like a dad figure, a father figure, had told me about what was bad about the internet, I don't think I would have seen a lot of the things that I saw growing up. Because like I said, I feel like sometimes they kind of mess me up. They kind of did. But anyway, and look, I get it. I honestly get it, because it's hard. It is hard. You feel like you need help. You feel like, you're doing so many things throughout the day. You have to go to work. You have to provide for your family. You have to do all of these things, literally do so many things, and you're tired. You don't want to waste more energy telling your kids about the internet, because sometimes you may not know anything about that. But I want to share this story because I said this to my wife, and she mentioned to me that I should share it. So what I told my wife after listening to or reading the story about this girl that disappeared is that growing up, as soon as I had access to the internet, and that happened when I moved to the States, I didn't have access to the internet back in Mexico because it was so expensive. We would have never afforded it. So I never had internet in Mexico all up to when I was here in the United States. So once I had access to that, damn. I was looking at porn. I was researching about drugs since I wanted to become the next El Chapo for some reason. I wanted to become a drug lord, and that from a very young age, because there's the allure of the riches that come with being a drug lord, right? So I wanted that. And I was talking to people from Mexico that were older than me about drug dealing in chats. There are chats where you can literally talk about anything, and it's not illegal until you do whatever you decide to do, if it's illegal or not. But talking to somebody like that, unfortunately, is not illegal. So that's why you have to be very, very aware of this. Now, another thing that I do want to point out is that I was able to do all of these, no matter where I was. I could have been in school and I was able to do it at work or at the library. And that's because I was able to bypass the blocks, the firewalls, and everything. And I want to also share this story because this will show you why I'm the bad influence. So back in 9th grade, so it was around like 2002. It was back in 2002. I don't remember the name of the class, but it was something about computers. So we were sitting in front of a computer for like 40 minutes. Now, my English was bad, so I couldn't understand the teacher, and it was boring. So I have a computer in front of me connected to the internet. And what did I do? I use Google a lot. I started using Google. I started searching for certain websites. But one day, outside this class, I don't remember where I heard that. I heard the term hentai. Now, in case that you don't know, hentai is anime porn. And it's very graphic. Extremely graphic sometimes. So I heard about it. I didn't know what it was. So I Googled it. And I found out that it was animated porn. So I was like, I'm 14 at this point. I'm like, I want to see what that is. I'm curious. So I did. I saw what it was. But at first, I couldn't access the websites. So I did more research on the computer. And somehow, I was able to come across some information that allowed me to bypass the blogs or the firewalls. So I started watching it. And then all of a sudden, the people around me, the kids around me, or the guys around me, were asking me, hey, how did you get into that? So I show them how to get into that website. And all of a sudden, a whole row of kids, of teenagers with raging hormones, were literally watching anime porn at school. Pretty much in front of the teacher. The teacher never found out. Nobody ever found out because we were sitting all the way in the back of the classroom. We were quiet. We had earphones. So we were listening to this porn in this situation and nobody said anything. And again, I was in school. So if you think that your kids won't be able to figure something like that, you are in there wrong. Because back in that time when I did this, the internet and the computers were not as advanced as they are now. So don't you think that your kids will be able to figure that out now? And it's going to be probably easier for them? I said to my wife the other day as well, if I was growing up right now, if I was 14 years old or 13 years old right now, with a phone, with access to the internet, like the way that I have access now, I will be doing a lot of shit. Probably making money somewhere, doing something illegal. Because that was my mindset back then, to do something illegal and to create money off of that. And a lot of kids are actually doing that. I have seen probably like 15, 16 years old. Kids that are 16 years old selling drugs already on Snapchat, on TikTok, on Facebook. But they use certain language so nobody else understands it. And I had to do my research because some of this lingo is hard to understand. And I was like, what does that mean? And then I found out, that's when you want drugs. I was like, holy shit. They have upgraded their lingo so much. And look, I understand. Sometimes we don't know how to approach certain subjects without looking dumb. And you don't want to look dumb in front of your kids because they're going to make fun of you. You're going to feel bad about yourself. You're going to feel like you're a bad parent. I get that. But as a parent, you need to understand that even though you may think your kids are not doing things or seeing things you don't want them to in front of you, it doesn't mean it won't pop up online while they are browsing the internet at some point. Because I've seen some pop-ups on regular websites, like news websites and things like that take me to websites that are like, whoa, like where did this even come from? That can happen. And that can happen to your kid because they may be on a website that is like more family friendly, but if they get a pop-up and they click on it, all of a sudden they're gonna get more pop-ups and they end up somewhere where they're not supposed to. It has happened to me even now as an adult. But it also doesn't mean that they are not talking to someone else pretending to be their friend and they are literally enticing them. Like what happened to the girl that disappeared. That's another thing that I want to drill into your heads because a lot of parents, they're like, and I have seen this, they're like, oh, my kid is safe. They know what they're doing. Kind of like what the other parents were saying after the kid disappeared. And when I tell them, like, do you ever check who they're talking to? They're like, no. No, I don't. I don't care. They're safe. They're their age. They're friends, whatever. So due to this, I believe with all my heart that parents need to have open communications with their kids because as a parent, it is your job to learn what they're doing online. And I don't mean be all over them and checking on them and checking everything that they do every 5 minutes, like, oh, show me what's on your phone, show me what you're browsing. No, that's not what I mean. But what I recommend is having conversations based on curiosity with your kid. This is what happened to me the other day. A friend of mine asked me what could he do in regards to his 14-year-old, because I don't know why, but a lot of people ask me for advice, even though I don't have kids. I guess it's because I think very logical now. So he asked me this, and I told him to ask his kid if he knew about a specific topic that my friend wanted to talk about with him. And this is what he came up with. And I hope you try this at one point with your kid, because if it worked for my friend, it can work for you. He asked his kid, do you know anything about weed? His son was all like, yeah, I know. Do you need some? I can find somebody that sells them or that sells it. And when he told me that, I was like, damn. Kids nowadays are crazy. Or not crazy, but more like they're more experienced when it comes to certain things. And anyway, but because of that, this particular question was able to open the door for my friend to discuss other topics with his kid. And the best part about this, and this is why I would like you to try this, is because his kid was interested in hearing his dad's perspective. So that's also extremely important, because now his kid is always asking him, hey, Dad, I found this online. What does this mean? And my friend always tells him, okay, this is what it means. And if you ever come across something like this, tell me, because this is what could happen. Kind of like a TikTok challenge or whatever. Because again, you have to take care of your kids, and you have to make sure that they are not doing things they're not supposed to, just because they want to freaking be accepted by others, by their peers. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. But the reason why I'm sharing this particular story with my friend is because you can find a way to ask them what they do on the internet that works for you. But it has to be in a way that they want to show you what they're doing. But that's also based on the type of relationship that you have with your kid. And another thing, you can tell them as well that not all people on the internet have good intentions, and that if someone is talking to them online, someone that you don't know as a parent, you want to know who they are, because you want to make sure they are not pretending to be just their friend and enticing them to do something they're not supposed to. And this is something that I want to point out. And I know it may sound repetitive, but you have to understand this. You have to teach your kids what kind of information shouldn't be shared online. And this is the thing that frustrates me the most, because I have seen cases where kids share their addresses, their school names, the states they live in, and they end up sending explicit pictures, and you don't know what the other person is gonna do with those pictures or with that information. So teach them what information shouldn't be shared, and it doesn't fucking matter if the other person gets mad and tells them that they're not being accepted. That's what I want to drill in your head, because I have seen so many cases. And as a parent, you also have to not come off as judgmental, because believe me on this one, if your kid believes or feels that they're being judged by you, it will be so hard to open up for them again. They will build a wall that you will never be able to break down. That's what I did with my family. So I know what I'm talking about. So you have to remove the judgment and try to see the internet from their perspective. Browse the internet with them and show them what is bad and what is not. Because kids are curious about the internet, especially when it comes to browsing it. Sometimes they come up with the most random information online. And they can do that from outside the house. All they need is a phone, or they can go to a library like I did, at school like I did, or a friend's house like I did. So unfortunately, they cannot escape now all the information that is out there. If you don't want your kids to read certain books because let's say they have been banned by the school, even though, and this is where I don't get this from parents, even though you may ban a book, they're still going to be able to find it online somehow. Probably they're going to go and and this is something that I would do it, like I say, if I was 14, 13 years old right now. If I hear a book being banned for whatever reason, let's say it has nudity, and I'm 14 with my hormones raging, I will look for that book. Somehow I will find that book online and I will read it. I will see the pictures. That's me as a 14-year-old, because that's what I did when I heard hentai, and I did. So just remember, your kid can do it too. And I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to bring you back to reality so you can actually pay attention to this. And you may be saying, like, Jordan, you don't have kids. Why are you talking about this? The reason why I'm talking about this is because if I had kids, this is the approach I would take at first. Try to ask them questions out of curiosity and then go from there so I can teach them how to be on alert for predators and information that they may not comprehend because of their age. And also, I will not judge them because I know how it feels to be judged by your parents or by the adults in your household. So that's why I'm mentioning this. And I want you to remember it. Because if you can see or do something online that is meant for adults only, there is no way a kid can access it. Even if it's a paid service, there are ways to actually see things for free. So you may have like an OnlyFans account or whatever, or Pornhub account or whatever, where you can see like whole videos and whatever. Those type of videos are posted online. There are certain websites that actually post that, even if it's paid content. That's one of the downfalls of the internet, that you can literally post anything. If you can record it, even from your phone, even if you have already paid for it, it's literally like piracy. They're pirating porn videos. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. So a kid will be able to find it if they actually look for it. So don't be naive. Start talking to your kid. And again, and I have mentioned this multiple times throughout the episode, but still, you have to understand, I'm not judging you. I'm not chastising you. I'm just telling you, as a friend, there are dangers out there. And it is your responsibility. So while other parents are bickering about what can a kid see or not, you need to talk to your kid about pretty much anything at this point. Because they are hearing things on the news that they shouldn't be hearing or listening to. They're hearing it from friends and even from yourself. If you're talking to your friends on the phone or whatever, they're listening. They are absolutely listening. So you have to be proactive about this. Don't wait for someone else to do it, because that someone may never come to actually help you raise your kid, especially when it comes to the internet. And that's it for today. That's what I wanted to share on today's episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the growth and the feedback. Remember to share, like, and subscribe. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. The links are in the episode's description. And here are my final thoughts. Learn about the internet along with your kid so both of you can go through this process together. And if you want me to answer any of your questions on the episodes of the podcast, send me an email or a DM. You can email me at bjordanthebadinfluence@gmail.com, or you can DM me on any of my social media platforms. And have a great day.